Aquí todo es un beneficio, tanto como que yo le resuelvo como que me resuelve. Tanto como uno quiere irse, como hay quienes quieren llevarte. No es que tan solamente tú digas que me quiero ir, hay mujeres por allá que sinceramente llegan aquí porque nadie las mira. Nadie las mira, a nadie las mira. Ellas son un cero a la izquierda, ¿entiendes? Pero como todas mujeres en el mundo necesitan el afecto de un hombre. Y aquí en Cuba, créeme que el hombre tiene afecto para darle a 1500 mujeres. La reacción se equivale, ¿sabes? A un 75% de sexo. Así que tienes que hacerlo bien. Si tú no haces eso, mi hermano, ¿a dónde vas a llegar, bro?
When we talk about patriarchy, we are talking about colonialism, right? Like if you look at, for example, the continent of Africa, most societies before colonialism were matriarchal. Like they had, women either were the leadership or they had the equal representation in leadership. And then what we see after colonialism is the complete opposite.
Eu acho que o colonialismo ele alimenta a ideia do homem branco europeu desbravador que sai pelo mundo conquistando. E aí, nesse sentido, ser a figura masculina tem um papel fundamental, porque a ideia é que os homens são os que se aventuram, enquanto as mulheres são as que ficam em casa, cuidando.
It was men who carried out, the atrocity that was colonialism, right? And that it was men who were behind the entire project of colonialism.
El machismo que creamos responde a un perfil absolutamente colonial y está asociado a la figura masculina como preponderante dentro del ejercicio del poder. A veces cuando tenemos contacto con mujeres de un universo diferente al nuestro, nos damos cuenta que toda la descripción de la heroicidad nacional está construida sobre una plataforma de la masculinidad.
El mismo colonialismo generó como muchos vectores de opresión, ¿no? Vectores múltiples de opresión, ¿no? Obviamente en los sujetos racializados, que obviamente una de esas violencias, ¿no?, que generó fue justamente como la manera de acreditar, ¿no?, como de dignificarte a partir de prácticas patriarcales.
Repetimos la misma proyección civilizadora, entre comillas, del colonialista. Hay mucho que descubrir.
I'm not going to pretend that patriarchy didn't exist pre-contact, but I don't know if it looked as kind of like violently unemotional as it does now.
Se suele entender por muchas personas que a veces forman parte de las reivindicaciones raciales, como que los negros somos más machistas por determinados aspectos violentos de la marginalidad. O sea, esa violencia que genera la marginación. Y yo amanecí un día a la verdad y a la luz de que el patrón del machismo que creamos le pusieron los españoles.
Sobre este relato, ¿no?, de la latinoamericanidad, pues se han encubierto justamente como todas las prácticas más violentas, ¿no? Me refiero de colonialismo, de colonialidad, de estratificación racial, de acceso, de exclusión, de prácticas pigmentocráticas en la cultura y que terminan también por definir formas de organización política, agenda política, narrativa en la política, discurso político.
But definitely there's a huge difference between how patriarchy is manifested in white spaces or systems and how black and brown bodies are subject to machismo and patriarchy. Because I feel like black and brown bodies are seen more disposable than those of the white female bodies, and not just females, just like anybody that fits under the non-spectrum of the cis male. You know what I mean? Black and brown bodies are victims of more violence, more abuse, more hatred, more discrimination.
Why males is on top, then it's the white lady on the bottom, then it's the black man under the white lady, and then it's the black woman at the bottom. From what I've seen and studied or been told, that's how power struggles. Like, la que está más jodida somos nosotras, la negra, la latina.
Al final del día, las mujeres más vulnerables o más expuestas precisamente a ese proceso de criminalización, de penalización, ¿no? Y de vector de opresión múltiple, pues vuelven a ser las mujeres racializadas, ¿me explico? O sea, termina siendo una discusión que tiene que centrarse ahí, que tiene que centrarse no únicamente en el concepto universalista de mujer, sino mujer y mujer prieta, ¿no? Mujer prieta y pobre al final del día, ¿no?
When we think about like the heroics of patriarchy, like who are you saving, who are you protecting? It's never black girls.
Es como me decía un amigo, ¿no? Como que pues hay veces que ya llega un momento donde, o sea, lo decía de broma, ¿no? Como que estás ni siquiera es que en la misma infidelidad tú estés como generando un tipo de placer ni de goce, no es más bien como que hacerlo porque tienes que hacerlo, ¿entiendes? Como que y ese tipo de pinches mandatos ni siquiera lo estás disfrutando porque probablemente hay una carga de estrés alrededor de eso muy cabrona, ¿no? Pero es como tienes que hacerlo porque tienes que hacerlo, ¿no? O sea, es como que, ¿me explico? O sea, incluso a través de hacerlo generas como que, ¿no? Identidad política, ¿no? O sea, es como que te da algo. Y ese algo que te da o toda esa nebulosa, pues justamente la pinche lógica patriarcal, ¿no?
Because again, even with feminist movements, black women and women of color have also been left behind. It was the same thing, free the white woman, and then let's figure out what we're gonna do. Yeah, and they took that and just ran with it. So even to this day, they still, women of color are still being left behind.
For example, if you look at the feminist movement, like the white feminist movement, they became a movement out of the backbone of black and brown bodies, and therefore they still didn't fight for the liberation of black and brown people. We as women need to support each other, blah, 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 blah. But when a black woman gets killed down the block, nobody be in the streets fighting for them, you know?
When I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, I had just got to Atlanta from Jamaica, and there was this little white girl, and at the time I had like my hair in a huge afro. I always picked it up every morning. I was so proud of my hair, and every day she would come in and she would like pull up my hair, and then when I turn around she would stop. She was agging me to make me mad, kind of like, if you have siblings, that's what siblings do. But she would do it and do it and do it, and then I would get mad and push her over, and she would scream and cry. And it was this very gendered and racialized thing that took place, where I was like this small little brown boy who just pushed a white girl, right? Even though she had agged me on, then I'm the one in the principal's office. And I think that in our movement spaces, this kind of antagonism takes place all the time, where like white women or white people in general will say something out of line or have a repeated action that's offensive, but when you respond, you're like the aggressor.
Black women's experiences of violence were being erased from both anti-racist solidarity and from black nationalist and black liberation politics. It speaks volumes to the fact that the things that we read about with the Panthers, being misogynistic, hasn't gone away at all. And we see all of these like black and brown patriarchs being like, so since when did you abandon our black liberation or whatever liberation struggle for like gay rights or for women's rights, as though we're not simultaneously black and brown and queer or women or queer women or trans women or whatever. And it demonstrates this real investment in not dismantling the system, but just kind of changing the guard. So the people who are running the system aren't white men anymore. It's still, you know, it's going to be black men, it's going to be brown men.
E tem debate sobre se nós deveríamos chamar essa experiência da mulher negra de feminismo. E eu não sei se a gente deveria chamar de feminismo também, porque ninguém chama o feminismo branco de feminismo branco, né? Mas chama o feminismo negro de feminismo negro. E pode dar a sensação de que o feminismo negro é um subproduto de um feminismo branco.
So should I change my feminist label, whatever? Even though I didn't like carry a banner like a shit ton of like white girls walk around now like, oh my gosh, I am feminist, power to me, you know, like never. But like I grew up reading literature about womanism, and being around black, powerful women in my family, in my environment, who broke the molds of what a woman needed to be.
Porque los paradigmas de masculinidad alternativa o de masculinidad solidaria no tienen nada que ver, parecen más una imposición colonial en términos culturales, ¿no? Que verdaderamente como un modelo de potabilidad identitaria, como un modelo de construcción de la violencia, ¿no? O sea, gente, por ejemplo, el mismo feminismo comunitario, feminismo comunal, feminismo indígena, que no se asimilan bajo la conceptualización de feminismos, ¿no? Claro. Es decir, como, ¿no? Por todo lo que, quizá por toda la categoría totalmente universalista, ¿no? del feminismo que se reduce a la experiencia blanca, ¿no?
Black feminism isn't just something that's hypothetical, it isn't just something that's theoretical, but it comes from a place of much greater urgency. It comes from a place that might be informed by violence much more intimately than some of us who are speaking in the academy.
Os homens são muito difíceis. Eu não sei qual é o problema dessa masculinidade que é tão frágil que qualquer coisa abala, não é possível. Se a mulher paga conta, abala. Se a mulher não paga conta, abala. Se a mulher estuda, abala. Se a mulher não estuda, abala. Se a mulher tem trabalho, abala. Se a mulher não trabalha, abala. Oh my God, é muito difícil.
You know, like there's still power dynamics in the interpersonal that they never really examine. They don't really be examining like their desire, like the politics of desire. You know, like who are you going for? You know, at the end of the day, they're still settling down with like blanquitas, and you know they want to have like black and brown side chicks, but mostly black side chicks. And like I come across that all the time. You know, it'll be like, oh, I'm polyamorous, but my main is a white girl. It's just that everybody else who's on the side is a black girl.
Because for the most part, I'm pretty happy with like gender roles, as long as they're not imposed. But when it comes to kind of intellect, that's been something that I have kind of had problems with, because men don't like women who might be smarter than them as much as they like the idea of smart women.
Oprimir a mulher negra como uma forma de uma estratégia para se sentir melhor também não vai ajudar a acabar com o sistema de opressão.
Me queda claro que yo no reproducía nunca jamás en la vida ningún tipo de violencia en términos física, ¿no? De violencia verbal. Como mexicano te cuida o entiendes que el universo de la violencia de género termina cuando tú no eres un violento en términos físicos, ¿entiendes? O cuando no eres un violento en términos verbales, ¿no? O cuando no eres un violento en términos económicos, es decir, no sé, ¿no? O cuando no eres un violento, ¿no? O no reproduce violencia a partir de celos, ¿no? O de intimidación, o de maltrato, de humillaciones. O sea, tú dices, yo estoy limpio de todo eso, ¿no? O sea, entonces dices, bueno, como que no entiendes o no entendías, ¿no? Que hay otro universo de violencias y hay otro espiral de violencias que puedes reproducir, ¿no? Como que no lo entendías de esa manera, ¿no? Como tal, ¿no? Entonces, a mí quizá me pasó eso, ¿no? O sea, no entiendes quizá, no es tanto la infidelidad como infidelidad el problema, quizás es probablemente la carga de omisiones y la carga de mentiras que son las que reproducen violencia o terminan generando dinámicas de abuso, ¿no? O sea, es la verdad, prácticas de abuso, estructuras de maltrato. O sea, me refiero, cuando te señalan y te dicen esto fue maltratante, primero no tienes capacidad de entender por qué es maltrato. Después te puedes dar cuenta que es maltratante, ¿no? O sea, cuando te señalan esto fue abusivo, ¿no? tú tienes una conceptualización ya tan estacionada sobre el abuso que no lo puedes entender como abuso y empiezas a darte cuenta, a ver en retrospectiva tú y darte cuenta que claro, es abusivo, ¿no? O sea, ¿no? Es violento, es abusivo, es maltratante, ¿no? O sea, es poco ético, es pues inmoral, ¿no? Y hasta cierto punto deshumanizante, ¿no? O sea, en todos los sentidos.
I mean, when we say men are trash, we're talking about like a systemic issue. Men are raised to be trash everywhere, and even when they're not raised to be trash, they're still complicit in other men's trash. They still benefit from other men's trash anyway.
I still don't understand as a child how you could see your sister and molest her or use her sexually. So I grew up in a home where I was part of an incest because my parents weren't really around, so they trusted my older brother to kind of take care of us. Sexually, I was treated as like a toy to him.
I don't want to be seen as a sexual object. But at the same time, I'm like a sexual being, you know what I mean? We all are. Or, well, most of us, right? Yeah, so now I kind of almost use it to my advantage. Básicamente cuando una mujer usa su sensualidad para conseguir dinero y qué sé yo, para salir adelante. Y, o sea, es como que tú te consigues un jevo y él te da todo lo que tú necesitas. Y quizá él tiene esposa y qué sé yo, pero tú eres la mujer, you know, tú eres la otra mujer de él. And that's like chapeo, right? And these women are chapeadoras, that's the nickname, you know? And to me, she told me that was feminist. At the time when she was telling me this, I didn't really believe it as empowering. But now I do. Incluso it makes me think a lot about Audre Lorde and what she wrote in the essay, Use of the Erotic, and how, you know, women, particularly black women and women of color, where we are encouraged to suppress the sexual being. And to me, I think we have to, in many ways, to protect ourselves, right? But we also can't hide the fact that it is something that we can use as power.
What does it mean being comfortable with like a free black America where black women are still expected to be quiet about abuse so it doesn't destroy community, or where queer black people are expected to choose whether or not they want to be black or want to be queer?
Even as people were fighting for equality and justice at a societal level, when you look at the interpersonal dynamics, it kind of falls apart. So even progressive folks.
So yeah, it's like that whole thing where Bell Hooks called Beyonce a terrorist or whatever. It's just like, it's super femphobic too, because Bell Hooks is a woman who dresses in like, you know, linen pantsuits and fucking clogs, and she wants everybody to dress like a man in order to be a real feminist. And it's just like, so basically you're femphobic, that's still misogynist.
And contradictions appear in everything, and you can either avoid it or you can exploit it and explore it. So, you know, I think that when it comes to gender and sexuality, especially in regards to like homophobia, sexism, patriarchy, any way of talking about or thinking about patriarchy is relatively new. And by new, I mean like the past few decades, right? So I think we can definitely hold people accountable for like not having the certain language at a time, or for making like sexist choices. I don't think that should invalidate an entire movement though, right? Like in Cuba, for example, you know, I'm part Cuban. The revolution at first was like, it was very homophobic. Yeah. And I'm a queer body, so when I hear that, it sucks. And I exploited and explored that contradiction, and I worked through it. And then they also worked through it in Cuba, and now that's actually the most progressive, one of the most progressive places on earth for LGBTQ people. But I think that if I would have came to that conclusion and disparaged of the Cuban Revolution, or my version of holding it accountable was just to throw it away, or to, you know, to cancel it, as what they say now, to cancel it, I wouldn't have gotten any of my lessons out of the Cuban Revolution. I wouldn't know it as like a tangible view of a futurity for Black people that it is now, for queer and femme bodies now that it is.
Accepting that we are not innocent bystanders, and that we inadvertently either contribute to the liberation or the continued oppression of women, that we're not just standing by.
And it has stripped people of their ability to kind of be vulnerable, because you can't be, you know, a super he-man if you're also allowing yourself to like be hurt, to be sad, to love without kind of limits. And I think that like capitalism has done a number on that as well, because we understand people as commodity. We understand what people and people's values in terms of what they can do for us. And so we as women are understood in our capacity for like our ability to perform submission in all of these different ways, because women only exist within hegemonic, you know, systems for the actualization of masculinity. We don't exist as people with agency or desires or needs in our own. We're simply tools.
Se oye este mismo cuento, el viejo cuento que seguro ya habrás vivido, el de las victorias pobres del mismo cuerpo desposeído. Y lo aprendimos a palos para salvarnos poquito, para desquitarnos tantito, atavismo suscrito. Es que ella tiene tremendas nalgas que pudieran ser mías. Es el anatema de la propiedad privada, justifica carestía. Y es que en la búsqueda por descolonizarnos, terminamos pareciendo a Cortés en la hamaca, con la cabeza al revés, cabeza de vaca. No vengo meando culpa en los carnavales de la higiene, porque cuando de sacar los recibos se trata, solo habré de reportarme con el feminismo prieto, nunca en la corte de la vigilancia y el castigo impuesto por la sororidad blanca. Y me chuparé todos los dedos sin pena a que mis amigos de la esquina proyecten su fobia a una experiencia homoerótica, caminando como un caballo salvaje en camisa color magenta. Las masculinidades no son nuevas, tan solo son predecibles. Y la vulnerabilidad pública no es una virtud sino una obligación reprimida. Todo sería más fácil, siempre adecuado a la escala de grises, ensayando a diario para intelectualizar los complejos sin embarrarnos las narices. Los vientos del escrutinio son pan para liberales. Becky es intocable, no así su mucama negra, no así su nodriza prieta, no así su niñera color tierra. Minúsculo miembro, todoterreno, ínfimo instrumento, flácido aliento, gigante placebo, sendo aditivo, son complaciente, no puedes conmigo. crepúsculo abierto, ridículo paradigma, santo del Viagra, misionero mediocre, trajín bucanero, real celta sin vigo. Ciclo precoz, procrastinar sin destino, déjame abierto que vengo dispuesto, vengo en camino. El hombre se ha muerto, apagan las luces, empieza otro cuento.